A manhunt.
Let me go on the parent,
were
the
issued,
press conference, to scare me to death for a
locate them
minute.
immediately. Our partner from the United States Marshal Eastern District, Owen Cyphers here. They, along with a lot of partners, quite frankly, immediately went into action. In addition to our fugitive apprehension team, their teams, Detroit Police was amazing, and we can get into that more. Obviously, we had the FBI involved, Michigan State Police. We even had helicopter assistance from the United States Border Patrol. So everybody pitched in. We were confident we'd be able to find them in short order, and because of that teamwork, we did. So we were notified by Detroit. They had received a tip that the vehicle had been seen. We were notified at 23:05, which is 11:05 p.m. Our fugitive folks arrived on scene with Detroit at 23:25, which is 11:25. Just 20 minutes after the call, they arrived downtown Detroit to be with Detroit. Detroit had seen the car, had secured the scene, had established a perimeter, done some great police work. Ultimately, at approximately 1:30 in the morning, the two suspects were taken into custody at 11 Bellevue in Detroit in a commercial vehicle. They were in an art studio within that building that has multiple kinds of partitions, if you will, in that building. They were taken into custody, as I said, at about 1:30 in the morning. Our fugitive apprehension team took custody and possession of them, and they were formally lodged to be with Detroit. Detroit had seen the car, had secured the scene, had established a perimeter, done some great police work. Ultimately, at approximately 1:30 in the morning, the two suspects were taken into custody at 11 Bellevue in Detroit in a commercial vehicle. They were in an art studio within that building that has multiple kinds of partitions, if you will, in that building. They were taken into custody, as I said, at about 1:30 in the morning. Our fugitive apprehension team took custody and possession of them, and they were formally lodged in our jail, where they remain at about 0300, about 3 o'clock in the morning. So they are in our jail. All three of them, the son and both parents, they are segregated, each individually in isolation. We have advanced watch on them. There is no indicator that any of them, we always have every person that comes in an intake evaluated by counselors in classification to determine if there's any threats to themselves or anyone else. There was no indication that any of them were suicidal, but out of an abundance of caution, our amazing corrections team is doing suicide watches on all three of them. So they are in custody and again in isolation. So that's a good step. The further on as it goes to this, we believe, and I've had multiple communications with Chief White of Detroit, our great partner, and another, again, shout out to his team for what they did, how they did it. And we've been in conversation and talking about some of the now follow-on information and evidence that we have. We believe they were assisted in that location to get there, to get in, and we're gathering that information, and we're going to have the totality of that done fairly soon and present that to our prosecutor for potential charges for either aiding and abetting or obstruction of justice. So that will be a determination by our prosecutor at some point in the near future, and that is a work in progress with all the other works in progress. Again, you know, every time I get a chance, I
wonder who aided them, Hammer Nation.
have any information on either of these two or the individual, the shooter, please either contact us at OCSO.
Somebody aided them, Hammer Nation.
OCSO@oakgov.com, or call us at 248-858-4911.
Somebody aided them, Hammer Nation.
About either the actions in the school, preceding actions in the school, or the follow-on as it relates to the two parents. And of course, you can be confidential or pass it on in any way that you see fit. I know Mr. Marshall from the United States Eastern District, you want to mention something there?
Yeah, thank you, Sheriff. Good afternoon. My name is Owen Cipher. I'm the U.S. Marshal for the Eastern District of Michigan. I would just like to say thank you on behalf of the United States Marshal Service to the Sheriff's Office here in Oakland County. Sheriff Bouchard and his team have always been phenomenal. We've always had a terrific partnership with the Detroit Fugitive Apprehension Team and his staff. Our officers responded the moment that we got the tip that the vehicle had been found in Detroit. And we had units out working all day yesterday, and last night they converged on the scene and were able to help the Detroit Police Department take those subjects into custody. I would also like to thank Chief White and his team down in Detroit. They did a phenomenal job of identifying the vehicle, locating the subjects in a building that they believed they were in. As soon as we had enough personnel on site to search that building, we did so. We executed the warrants, and thankfully no one was hurt in the apprehension of these two individuals, and they are now safely in custody. So great thanks to Chief White and to Sheriff Bouchard and the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. Detroit and Oakland County, they've always been great partners with the Marshal Service, and we truly appreciate that.
So thank you, Sheriff. I think that's really most of what the questions have been about so far today. Anybody else have any other questions?
Did the parents say anything either on that drive from Detroit to the jail or once they were out of jail? They said anything to you?
Probably at this point, we're going to talk about any either spontaneous or discussion, because that will now become part of any evidence.
Somebody ate them, Hammer Nation.
So that information will be turned over.
Somebody ate them, Hammer Nation.
And about that will be.
Who ate them?
As it relates to, trial activities.
The Crumley's attorney basically described this as one of the communications that they were planning to turn themselves in. Is that a possibility?
Well, all I know is this, is that when we were informed we had an active warrant.
They weren't going to turn themselves in. They were going to run.
Came into one of our detectives.
They were going to run, man.
Going to arrange for their arrest to turn themselves.
They were going to run, Hammer Nation.
That's fine. We don't wait for that. When we have serious charges like felonies.
They were going to run, Hammer Nation. They were going to run, man.
Substations, but we're going to go look for it immediately.
Yeah, they were going to freaking run.
Once the warrant was in hand, a full activation of looking for them, because there's always.
They were going to freaking run, man.
And we had been looking.
They weren't going to turn themselves in, man. They were going to run.
Limited fashion. And
They was running.
about our investigative tactics.
I'm a run, man. Run.
Then later in the morning, we had communication that the couple was not responding to texts or phone calls of their attorney. So again, to us, that's irrelevant.
Dang.
If they show up, fine. But we're not going to sit at the front desk and tap our fingers until they come in. We were out actively looking for them, working with our partners, and they were taken into custody before that question was asked or answered. Were they actually going to do it? I don't know. But given that they are hiding in a warehouse in Detroit, it certainly.
They were going to run, dudes.
Why were they returned to the jail?
That's part of the questions, obviously, why they were there, why they were in a commercial.
They were going to, somebody help them, man.
Fashion.
Somebody help them.
Their other vehicle at a different location, prior to the.
Like, share, and subscribe, folks.
So we began a process of doing what we could before any warrants were in hand to look for them.
They were hiding in the Detroit warehouse, dang.
Different locations.
Where were they going there? They took $4,000 out.
Ended up being there at that moment.
You know?
Can you give some clarity as to how you know that they were hiding? Couldn't they just say they were in the building when they specifically ducked away or anything like that?
Well, when the tip came in, the person was apparently outside smoking, and they pretty much ran away. And obviously, the way, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but I think where they were and how they were seems to support the position they were hiding, and they weren't looking for surrendering at that point.
Sure. What are the criminal ramifications for people that help them to their art gallery, and what are they looking at crime-wise? Have the people that help them be taken into custody, and are they cooperating?
Well, we obviously don't have any charges at this point, but that's part of the investigation, and ultimately, if there are charges that are applicable.
Somebody help them. Somebody's going to get charged too.
So
Somebody's going to get charged for aiding and abetting these guys, man.
as it relates to that.
The whole family's in jail together, separate. The father, the mother, and the kid. They're all in jail together, man.
To them.
Whole family of charges, man.
that there were warrants for them.
How much do you know about their whereabouts from Friday morning, when they made this ATM withdrawal, to the point where their cell phone shut off, to when they're discovered? Because I know they were in Rochester Hills, but and then they were found in Detroit. But do you know what happened in between, where they were, where they tried to go?
We don't, again, have a whole lot of their movements because the last time our detectives actually saw them physically in person was when we executed search warrants on the home when the child in question was the suspect. So we were going to the house to seize anything of evidentiary value to the case of the school shooting, and at that point there was no indication that the parents may or may not have been involved. It was
You shouldn't have bought the gun, dude.
or evidence related to the shooting. That was the last time our detectives saw them. As soon as the prosecutor gave some indication that there would be potentially charges, our detectives began to do what we call a packet.
Oh, man.
Prepare for if there are charges.
Dag.
Where go and began to
Dag, man.
look for them short of what the expanded capabilities are.
Dag.
Without an actual warrant, either a search warrant or an arrest warrant.
Dang.
It's kind of an interesting situation with the whole family together in your jail. Do they get to talk to
No.
their son?
No talking, no communication, they're all three in isolation.
Does that change over time?
No.
Minor or no?
No, on a variety of levels. First, we would segregate male and female prisoners, and secondly, we would segregate juveniles charged as from adults. So on all three levels, they will never be interacting.
Does the person who called 911 get the reward?
So my agency did offer a $10,000 reward for the capture.
Oh, that's the. Oh, hi, Willie T. That's just a press conference on the whole family that's in jail right now.
We had subsequent information.
They're just doing a press conference.
They may be entitled to that.
Somebody help them, Willie T.
Office out of Washington, D.C.
Somebody help them.
If
They aided and abetted this couple, man.
by all indications it did, that person would likely be entitled.
Yeah, they're in jail right now.
How much can you speak about the conditions which London is in right now? I know you mentioned isolation before, but any further details? How often are you meeting with counselors? Check up what their actual cell conditions are like? Anything like that?
We're checking on them.
Yeah, they're in jail right now. They're just doing the press conference. They're all three of them are in isolation.
Clearly,
They're all in isolation, Willie T. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
regular observational capabilities.
What's up?
Regular discussions with our medical
Let me
staff.
see,
and
just a
our
second.
medical staff to see if we need to do or change anything differently. But constant verification and checks on them on behalf of our deputies.
Can you describe the mental state at this point, or if anything is anything?
Well, again, we have nothing to lead us to believe that anybody has any mental health challenges so far based on records or information we've uncovered. And again, as they came in through our intake process with our counselors and our classification process, they indicate no interest or desire to hurt themselves. Yes.
Two questions. Are they facing additional charges now because of what happened yesterday? And secondly, Chief White during the conference this morning said that they were in a state of distress when officers reached out. Can you talk about that at all?
In terms of additional charges, again, the form and fashion of where we ended up finding them and how they got there, that totality will be a determination by our prosecutor if there is any applicable extra charges or not. But I think certainly it lends to
Somebody aided and abetted them, Willie T.
that if there's no
Somebody aided and abetted this couple, dude.
in a warehouse in Detroit. In terms of their distress, the chief and I talked about that a bit, but I don't want to get too awfully into that. We don't, it could be distress because they're
Like, share, and subscribe,
the
folks.
situation. Sure.
Sheriff, some members of your department have expressed some frustration saying the prosecutor didn't let you know ahead of time these charges were coming. Was your department caught off guard by these charges?
Well, we had some disconnect with the prosecutor's office and our chief investigators. We've communicated and that's been handled, and we're moving forward to focus on how we together, hand in glove, hold these individuals accountable.
Sheriff, did Ethan know that his parents were charged, and
what has his reaction or his demeanor been since they've been captured and while they were, I guess, being searched for?
What was his demeanor?
Yeah.
He hasn't said anything to us. Obviously, none of them are really communicating to a great extent with us. So, his demeanor really hadn't changed. He wouldn't have been made aware that we're searching for his parents since he's in isolation, and it's not like we have a TV clicker in his hands.
Does he know that his parents are in custody now?
I honestly couldn't tell you. My guess is no. It's not something we necessarily would go let him know.
Sure, since he's under 16, is there some sort of mandatory education program that will be ending because of compulsory education law?
Well, that's probably not the first thing on our priority list. Our first thing is to make sure he's doesn't hurt himself and that he gets timely court appearances and access to counsel. From that point, other things are secondary. And on top of all of that, we have COVID procedures right now. So, we have a lot more restrictions in terms of who comes in and out of our facility, how our educational programs can and cannot be conducted, to prevent mitigation and spread of the virus within a confined facility. It's not like we can widely social distance within, a jail. So,
Obviously, a lot of the focus has been on the parents because they were on the run.
Somebody ended them, y'all.
Investigation into the school's actions. I think the prosecutor said that they sent Ethan back to the classroom. He had the gun. Could that become part of the criminal investigation?
well, everything that happened from preceding
Somebody ended them, y'all.
after till we stand here today
Yep.
will be under investigation, and every tidbit that we learn will be handed over to our prosecutor for, again, follow-on charges if applicable. She has said that, there may be other charges, and that will be, again, a
Yep.
charge of determination by her as it relates to if any of the additional information we present her with rises to that level.
Are any of the school officials under investigation?
Well, I wouldn't say a school official is under any investigation specifically. I would say the situation is, and if there's someone in that process, in that timeline, has done something that triggers that criminality, if you will, that's going to be up to the prosecutor. Anybody is going to be completely just investigated and determine what happened. And where it leads is where the facts take us.
In regards to this person in Detroit, is it known yet what their relationship is to the couple, or at least what their relationship is to that building?
Yes, we do have indication of both of those things, but we're not getting too awfully deep into it until we get it completed and give it to the prosecutor.
Sure. Chief White said that these were not armed.
Correct.
This morning. But we heard during the arraignment that they had taken out $4,000 in cash out of ATM. Was that money found on them? Do you know anything about?
I don't have the inventory sheet on what was recovered at scene yet, so I can't answer that. Yes.
So a lot of people still have some questions about the school resource officer and the Oxford superintendent issued a detailed statement within the last hour. So in it, he says the counselor made a decision to return Ethan to class.
Somebody's gonna pay for this, man.
The question for you, Sheriff, is
Somebody's gonna pay for this.
So the counselor would know? Because apparently Ethan is.
Somebody's gonna pay for this, Hammer Nation.
I'd have to, again, pull the actual investigative jacket to know what the counselor saw at the time, and that's part of the investigation. But again, my reaction to the whole process is that if it was concerning to the teacher in the classroom enough ultimately to call in parents, at that point we would have loved to have been looped in.
Thank you.
Sheriff, the attorneys for the parents said that what's been presented so far has been cherry-picked and slanted. Obviously, this investigation is still ongoing. There's a lot that we do not know. But just what has been released to the public now, does that paint a fairly complete and accurate representation of what happened here?
Well, I certainly think that's a part of the picture, and we're still finishing the picture, if you will, and we're filling in the details as we learn them and as we get additional facts. But I I certainly also believe that it's accurate.
Sheriff, the superintendent in that video also said that he was going to ask you to release some video. We don't know what video he was referring to. Do you know what video?
Yes and no, it's not going to happen. We have extensive video within the school of exactly what played out and how it played out. And that is evidence and will be given to the prosecutor for the prosecution and any
Somebody's gonna be in trouble for this, man.
prosecution as to not obviously prejudice.
Yep.
the
Somebody's
case.
gonna be in trouble for this, Hammer Nation.
Any estimate on how long you will process the crime scene?
We're mostly done with the actual crime scene. We were in there till, I think I was there at about 2 in the morning. I think they were done about 3:30. 5:30, or excuse me, I'm losing my time hours because no one's sleeping. About 5:30 in the morning, the day after, most of our forensic examination, our crime scene team was done in there.
And they're right now at the Oakland County Jail facility.
Correct. Right here on this campus.
And there's no plan to move them to another location for any other reason.
Absolutely not. They're here, quite frankly, for the duration.
Really full bond for at least the parents.
If they post bond, yeah, they would be released.
Yeah, somebody's gonna pay for this. Somebody's $500,000 each, man.
How are they doing, and mental health possibly on?
Thank you. I was actually going to bring that up. I ask our people to do some very dangerous and difficult things. We talked about our response capabilities and how we've been training for years for active shooters, and that I issue very clear instructions and orders. If I get to an active shooter first, I'm going in. If you get there first, you're going in. If we get there together, we're both going in, but we're going in. And our job, once we go in, and their job was, and they did
His
it,
parents are
was
dipsticks.
just to go in, ignore everything else and go to the sound of the gunfire or the chaos, because that's the active threat. Because if they stop anywhere to calm a teacher or a student or to render aid, more people could be killed. That's
Somebody help them, man.
an unnatural act.
In that building. They helped them in that building. Somebody's gonna be charged.
To ignore that because you hear.
Listen to this, Hammer Nation. Like, share, and subscribe.
That's what they did. And as a result, when he was taken into custody, there were some 18 unexpended rounds. And
Yeah,
that's what I keep reminding them. 18. 18.
18 rounds.
18 more kids. That's difficult to take in. So they're struggling in a big way. And so we have had a complete debrief for everybody that was at the scene all day yesterday, and I went to every one of those sessions to talk to them, tell them how proud I am of them, and that it's not weakness to ask for help and to get help, that it's important they do that. Their number one job is to make themselves come out of this process in a healthy way. They'll never be the same. I mean, I was in the scene when there were still children there that were deceased, but those that were going in there when it was happening, and they were having to go past them,
Oh, man.
devastating. And so we had a follow-on session today with some specialists that we had flown in, and we're going to do everything we can to help them to try to process this and to try to be able to move forward in a healthy way for themselves, for their family, and for the community. Because I told them that we need them to heal for themselves, their family, and community, but we also need them back out on the front line. I mean, the next day,
Hammer Nation, somebody's gonna pay for this.
school and made an arrest for somebody that threatened another school. So there's no lack of
Be
need
right back,
for
Hammer
folks
Nation.
to be able to function well and be able to deal with some of the future threats that we're going to face. And sadly, we're going to face more. I mean, we're inundated with threats right now. We have threats against the candlelight vigil last night. We have threats against memorials. We have threats against individual deputies or law enforcement. It's absolutely absurd that after a tragedy, we see a huge spike in threats, but that's what we're seeing.
You brought the kid like this, and that's my next question.
Somebody help them,
Can you talk
specific but non-credible or non-verified threats that came in about that event in a different venue. So obviously you saw a very heavy presence from our...
Somebody's gonna get blamed for aiding and abetting that couple, dudes.
Partners that were there.
Somebody's gonna get blamed for this, Hammer Nation. I don't know, because they're looking into who did it.
We felt confident we could and did.
You know,
say,
like, share, and subscribe, people.
Absolutely terrified. Their kids are terrified. And so what happened was somebody fell out, and we use that term for lots of times when our honor guard is at certain things. If you're standing in a certain way without shifting your weight, your blood tends not to move, and you can pass out, you can faint. So people in one corner, and I was on stage when it began to start screaming. And that panicked part of the crowd because they didn't know what they were screaming about. And that's when I took the microphone and said, calm down, relax, more people are going to get hurt by running. Nothing's going on, nothing's wrong, because that's how raw they are. And it's terrifying to so many people, and it's really hurtful that more...
Somebody's gonna pay for this, man.
Put a punctuation on this again.
Somebody's gonna pay for this, Hammer
We're
Nation.
investigating,
You know?
even if it's not credible, and even if you don't plan to carry it out, and if we find you, and we will find you, we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. And one of the possible penalties is up to 20 years. So it's not funny. It's not a way to get out of school. It's a crime. And you're hurting an already struggling community.
People were running towards the media area where we were all staged, and it was so much panic, and someone looked at me, and I was in our live truck, and they said, someone's been shot. I think that really sums up the fear of what happened that evening.
Right.
I saw people collapsing because they were so upset, and they were so raw and just on edge.
Right. No question. I mean, obviously, I was there as well, and I was giving out a lot of hugs before and after. And, you know, without almost exception, everybody that came up just was looking for some reassurance, and when we hugged, they were emotional.
What do you have to say to the parents, Oxford parents, or parents of the victim now that all three are in the county jail right now?
That the intent is, and the plan is, and the anticipation is that the prosecutor and I are working hand in glove to hold them accountable.
Now that, yesterday we heard a lot of details come out about the relationship between the parents and Ethan, and in the same respect, it's 2 days later since he executed a search warrant on the home. Have you at this point noticed or found any other evidence in the home, anything that would have pointed or indicated to this event happening, any red flag?
Well, again, I'm not going to get
Hammer Nation, these people are idiots.
portion, but as we
These people are idiots, Hammer Nation.
clear evidence that this was premeditated, and he was actually looking forward to it.
Sheriff, would you have an increased police presence on this event as well?
Absolutely.
These people are idiots, Hammer Nation.
For the other press conference we had about these unrelated threats, and every police chief pretty much in the county was here. We're all united in doing everything we can to bring some calm, assure parents and students that we're going to be there, we're going to make the school safe, but we've got to get them back to some semblance of normalcy. It's going to be difficult. And the same thing goes for students, teachers, and parents. If you're struggling with this, find a path to get help, whether it's a chaplain or whether it's a priest or a rabbi or a counselor, whatever the case may be. Find a path to deal with this.
Yeah, they're going there's going to be some trial.
The last update, we'll put it out. The last update from most, we're improving pretty well. But I'll check to see if there's anything new today.
Can you go into any more detail as to the moment when officers encountered that next?
Sure. There were 2 of our deputies that were moving down that hall together, seeking out the threat. And as they came into that hallway, they observed the subject, and he basically gave up. I'm not going to get too awfully specific, but he gave up.
Did he give up as soon as he saw them?
As they were approaching, he put his hands up. And, you know, I'll say this, you know, when we see most of these around the country, my opinion is, these people are evil and they're cowards. They either typically usually give up or commit suicide.
Somebody's gonna pay for this, damn it.
I think the officers walking in and maybe speaking about this to the training. Did the shooter have the gun, did he have the weapon in his hand? Did he notice the weapon in his hand?
As they were approaching them, the weapon was put to the ground and he put his hands up. I'm not gonna get too awfully specific to the precursors and the postcursors on that, but
There was no opportunity for them to even say drop the weapon and then engage in use.
he gave up pretty much as soon as they wanted to.
Yeah, this is a done deal, Amber Nation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's it, Amber Nation.
Listening to the Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard give us an update on not only the shooting that took place.
Yeah, that's it, Amber Nation. Like, share, and subscribe to this video, and I'll be back later on. So, bye now. These people are cowards. That's what it is. So long for now.